The day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Thursday. By the way, quick reminder, coming up at the bottom of the hour, it's the Donald Trump 2020 Communications Director, Mark Lotter. Should be an interesting interview. We'll be joined by him coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk a little bit about this huge celebrity golf tournament that's taking place in Las Vegas. That's going to be like the Lake Tahoe event. We'll talk about that coming up next segment. But, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time to talk about some rats. And no, I'm not talking about the rats that got mic'd up by the FBI and the Sopranos. Not that kind of rat. I'm talking about actual rats that are found in places of business that serve food. And the one to talk to us about that, she does a great job with her Dirty Dining segments. That is Darcy Spears from Action News 13. Darcy, how you doing?
Sharp, Shapiro, I am just doing great this fine Thursday morning.
I am glad to hear that. So hopefully we can ruin everybody's appetite with this segment.
Sounds like it's a guarantee.
Good morning. Let's make sure no one wants lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm in the mood for a little bit of rat this afternoon. Let's start with Yum Cha. Yum Cha, which is located on Tropicana and Decatur Boulevard. Apparently they have a rat problem. What can you tell us about this?
Well, the owner would tell you they had a rat problem. Apparently, they haven't seen any for a little while now as a result of the health district's intervention and some stepped-up pest control. But this is a place that's been plagued with problems. That location has changed hands and changed owners. What hasn't changed is that they keep on appearing on Dirty Dining. And this particular iteration of the restaurant probably had the worst health issues of any of the previous, in that they had a prolific rat infestation. I've never seen pictures that show so many rat droppings and urine spots.
Oh.
I can't even believe I'm talking about this. So much leave behinds of rats in so many places in the kitchen. On the wrappers in dim sum pots, those long metal, you got to press it to get out the exit door.
Yes.
There were rat droppings on the door handle, for heaven's sake. These guys were everywhere.
So how does this restaurant stay open? Isn't something like this something that's a prolific, we'll call it a rat hotel, basically a rat residence, if you will. But isn't this grounds to shut a place like this down?
Well, temporarily they were shut down.
Okay.
As the health district's role is initially to bring a place into compliance, and part of ensuring that is when there is an imminent health hazard like this, they do shut the place down, and then the restaurant has to mitigate the issue. They have to remediate. They have to do all kinds of pest control and cleaning, and they have to prove to the health district that they've gotten rid of the problem to inspector satisfaction so that they can then reopen. The owner of this restaurant did tell me that they were approved to reopen, but he elected to stay closed for a few extra days to have some additional pest control and to just kind of watch things. So he seems to be pretty serious about trying to make it not happen again, but he did say the complex itself is overrun with rodents, so, they very well may try to come back.
Placing the blame elsewhere. Very interesting. So, speaking of rats...
It's not just me.
So, rats, snakes, bats, the coronavirus obviously happened. Wuhan, China is where this originated, and there's been... it's been almost a pandemic, but since the coronavirus has happened, have there been any talks about it because we haven't talked about this yet, but have there been any talks about it in Las Vegas as far as increasing the stringent health standards, or is there, what have been the conversations with the coronavirus in Las Vegas?
Well, when it comes to restaurants, you just, you don't hear that there's any kind of a crossover. If you look at what the CDC and the health agencies are saying about how the virus is transmitted, you have to be close enough to an infected person in order to inhale the droplets that they cough or sneeze out, or they have to cover their mouth or their nose when they cough and then have their hands still wet when they touch your hand, and then you have to touch your nose or your mouth or your eyes. So there's a pretty specific transmission method. I haven't heard them say anything about rats having coronavirus, but I will tell you that Sam Can, the owner of this restaurant, says that he's seen a significant decline in business because people, he says, are afraid to come to Asian restaurants, period. And, of course, keep in mind, this was before our report about the rats.
Right.
Now people might have another reason to stay away. But there is definitely a fear out there that is, I think, hurting a lot of Asian businesses, possibly unnecessarily. We do see some very, very stringent quarantine and screening efforts of people before they ever even get here. So, that's why you're not seeing as much of a pandemic or an outbreak in the United States or Las Vegas.
Or even the fact that in Wuhan, apparently, there was a bat that was actually part of a soup and a snake that was part of a delicacy. And are people worried that maybe something like that could take place in Las Vegas in one of these Asian restaurants?
Well, the whole concept of those wet markets in Wuhan and in other provinces in China where they mix wildlife and animal slaughter with the sale of food and raw meat, and it's all together, and they do eat things that we don't eat. That's a really very interesting study in what goes on and how these viruses can be transmitted between animals and people. I will say that Yum Cha was not serving up the rats, so they got that going for them.
Well, that's a good thing. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Darcy Spears, does her Dirty Dining segments and does a great job for 13 Action News. All right, let's get back to the actual restaurants themselves, and let's go to KFC. Used to be called Kentucky Fried Chicken, but I guess they were sued because I guess you can make the argument it's not real chicken. But hey, I'm a fan of KFC. I like the honey mustard. I like those chicken fingers. I'll be honest, I'm a frequent offender. I go to KFC all the time, but apparently there's one on Eastern and Horizon Ridge that they didn't have rats, but apparently they had some other things in the kitchen that were not great. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sewage.
Ooh,
in the kitchen
that's
is
what
not
it is.
great.
Ugh. Oh, that's
So,
gross.
they had sewage backing up through their one of their floor drains into the kitchen. It was surrounding the walk-in cooler, and when you look at the pictures, you can actually see the pooled wastewater in front of the cooler. So anybody that needed to go into that walk-in cooler conceivably would have had to walk through the sewage to get in and out of the cooler to get the food, etc. So that was a problem, and the health district did shut KFC down after they found the sewage backup. This particular KFC on Eastern and Horizon Ridge, I think, is going the way of several others in town in that they are preparing to permanently close the store. They told the health district they were closing on February 24th for good. But they did clean up, and they are open at the moment, at least until that permanent closure.
All right. Well, hopefully they get that fixed because I can almost guarantee you that I've been there before, and I'll probably be going back there again. Let's move on now to Family Dollar. Now, my mom is a big fan of Family Dollar. When she comes to Las Vegas, take me to the dollar store, take me to the Family Dollar store, and she ends up buying 150 items that are crap that I never use. But that's another story for another show. So this Family Dollar is on Twain and Spencer. What did you find here?
This is the second time that particular Family Dollar has been on Dirty Dining for rats. So they obviously can't figure out how to prevent them from coming back, or they never got rid of them in the first place, but they just can't seem to get it right over there. The place in a lot of areas was just really trashy, both right outside the back door, in the employee break room, and they knew that they had a rat infestation. Their pest control company told them, hey, guess what? You've got roof rats. But when your pest control company tells you that and you leave a big hole in your ceiling, you might as well just, roll out the rat red carpet, and it seems that's kind of what they did. They also, having had a previous rat infestation, should have known that the health district requires when you've got that imminent health hazard, you've got to self-close, and you've got to notify the health district. They did neither of those two things. And, the other kind of, well, I won't say fun but interesting read that we got from the complaint that initially brought health inspectors to that Family Dollar is a customer said that there was previously melted ice cream that they had refrozen and were selling, and the customer told the health district, when I opened my ice cream, it looked like vomit.
Oh.
And it also stinks in there.
That's gross.
So that's what brought the health district to Family Dollar to begin with. And when they got there to investigate that complaint, they're like, oh, look, there's rats again. So, they just, I don't know what's going on there. They just certainly can't seem to fully fix that issue there.
Ice cream that looks like vomit. Wow, that makes me want to get a hot fudge sundae after the show, that's for sure. So, Darcy, give me a little bit of the information on how people can watch your segments, not just hear you on our show, but actually watch it on Action News 13, because you do such a great job there. Give out that information for some of our listeners.
Well, for starters, my stories are always streaming on KTNV.com and on our mobile app. And since so many people consume news that way, know that you can go there and get it at your convenience anytime you want. But as far as our initial on-air debut, Dirty Dining is every Wednesday night on 13 Action News Live at 11 p.m. And then we re-air those segments on Thursdays in our 6:30 p.m. newscast. Of course, you can find us, as I said, online, also on our Facebook page, on my Facebook page. I tweet out the link, as you guys kindly do, every Thursday after the story airs. So we're available in so many different ways to inform you and to give you the goods on what you need to know before you make your choices about where you dine out.
And you know what? You do such a great job in doing so. Like I said, your worst nightmare as a restaurant manager is if you see Darcy Spears walk through the door. It can never be good. It just can't be good. If she's with a camera person. If she's by herself, she might, or with somebody else, she might be dining
if
there.
she
That's
comes
fine.
in with a fork and knife, then you're okay.
Then you're fine. Exactly. If she
the knife is a lot safer than the camera.
Yeah, or a microphone for that matter. Darcy.
Very rare.
That's right.
It's funny when people go, oh, no, when they see me or get my call. It's just like...
Well, I hope listen, I don't own any restaurants. I just hope I'm never dining in a restaurant and you walk in, because that's going to be bad news for what I'm eating. But Darcy, you always do such a great job. Thank you so much. Look forward to watching you on TV later on in the weekend tonight. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks again for having me.
All right, you bet.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Darcy.
Darcy Spears, 13 Action News, her weekly Dirty Dining segment.